Hope you're doing okay. Today I've put together a little video for you to talk about medieval China, the Middle Ages, just like we were talking about the last couple of weeks. Today, specifically, what I want to talk about are inventions in Chinese history. So the first one that I want to talk about is paper. So paper and printing were one of the most important Chinese inventions and not only changed Chinese civilization, but European civilization as well. So paper was actually invented a little bit before the Middle Ages, but it was greatly used in the Middle Ages for paper money. So just to show you a little bit about the process. So first they would cut down the bamboo. Then they would soak the bamboo to soften it. They'd boil it and kind of make it into a paste. Then as you can see here, they would dip a screen into it, create kind of paper fibers, and then they would press it and dry it. So that's how they were able to create the paper. Now, during the Tang Dynasty, which was from 618 BC to 907 BC, they created something called the movable type. And the movable type, we're going to read about it here, was one of the most important inventions. So we're going to skip ahead here. So the mass production of paper led to another important Chinese innovation, a method for printing books. Before printing, books were copied by hand and were very expensive. The Chinese began printing in the 600s AD. They used blocks of wood on which they cut the characters of an entire page. Ink was placed over the wooden block, and then paper was laid on the block to make a print. I'm actually going to show you guys a little video about how that worked. So, as you can see here, I'm just going to skip ahead. So, first, the Chinese actually used clay and wood prints of the Chinese character. Later on, they moved to metal. But as you can see here, they put the blocks of metal onto this kind of base. They covered it in ink, and then they put the paper over it. And just pressing on it, they were able to create printed paper. Now, why is this important? This is super important because several things. First off, they were able to mass produce money. And because they were able to print on money and create a paper currency, this greatly helped their economy and the merchants in their trades and transactions. They were also able to print books and made books less expensive, which, if you can imagine, helped the spread of education. This invention was super important in Chinese history, and actually it didn't make its way to Europe until about 200 years later. So it took a while for the Europeans to get this movable type and printing press. But it was one of the most important things that the Chinese did. Another thing that the Chinese actually invented was gunpowder. Gunpowder, which I think this is really interesting. In Chinese, it's called hu yao, which means flaming medicine. So unlike paper and printing, the birth of gunpowder was accidental. So it was invented by chemists, basically, who were trying to make an elixir of immortality, basically something that would make them immortal. And in the end, it was they created gunpowder. Why was this important? Well, because they were able to use gunpowder in wars, which made their military super strong. As you can see here, in the 12th and 13th centuries, gunpowder spread to the Arab countries and then to the European countries. So this not only helped the Chinese, but it also helped the Europeans in wars. If you guys know that the method for blasting cannons was they used gunpowder. So this greatly affected the Europeans in the way that they conducted their wars. Another super important invention, I'm just going to go over really fast, was the compass. The compass was, sorry, you guys, you can hear my friend's dog snoring. The compass was invented by the Chinese, which allowed them to explore. They were able to, have more exploration by boat and by sea. When this compass made it to Europe, you guys can imagine what happened. Well, people like Christopher Columbus used a compass to sail to the Americas. Even though that's a little bit later in history, you can see that all these inventions coming from China at the time were super important not only to Chinese history, but to our history as well. I'm going to send you guys a little text that you can read with a worksheet that you guys can turn in next week. Thanks, you guys.